Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and for this video I'm actually a little bit nervous because this is something new, a new type of video that I'm doing, and I'm very passionate about it, and I just had to speak out. The misconceptions and the stereotypes, the overgeneralizations that the United States tends to have against my culture, and they've done this for decades, and it still happens to this day in the media, in Hollywood movies. They tend to represent us in a very stereotypical way, and this video is meant for people to get informed on stereotypes they see on the media and truly get to know my culture. There should be representation of minorities for their voices to be heard. So I am 100% Mexican American, so I come from a family that is from Mexico. And for those of you who are curious as to what area of Mexico I'm from northern Mexico, Chihuahua, a very big state, and it's beautiful there. I am dressed up in the colors of Mexico, red, white, and green. I unfortunately don't have any traditional or cultural outfits. Basically, I wanted to make sure that I have all my points and not to miss any single one, and I could just talk about it. I think I'm going to start off with one of the most important ones, I think, out of all of them. I have to say, Latino does not mean Mexican. The terms Latino versus Mexican are two different terms. Latino is a person that is from Latin America. To call someone Mexican is a person that originates from Mexico. Mexico is only one country from a lot more Latin countries, Latin America. I don't know why people from the US associate Latino with everyone being from Mexico, which is not true. Whole other Latin countries that people tend to forget: Costa Rica, Peru, Chile, Honduras, Nicaragua. I tend to associate every single Latino with being Mexican, and it's not true. I think it's entirely because Mexico is close to their border, so keep that in mind. And also, side note, to call someone Hispanic, to say that someone is from a Spanish-speaking country, and that includes Spain, but Spain is not included in Latin America. So, and I think the second most important stereotype that there is that the US likes to label us as illegal immigrants, and there's millions and millions of Mexicans that live in the US who are legal and residents and work for many years. They pay taxes, and they're very hard workers, and I think it's just very ignorant to say that every Mexican, or to label an entire race as illegal immigrants. It's just very ignorant, and it's just not true. There is a portion of our people that don't have papers, but I think it's very messed up to just assume with our race there's a lot of hardworking people that do very hands-on jobs that other people won't be able to do. And often they're the ones that work over shifts and way more hours to sustain themselves and their families. It's just entirely not true. Completely. Again, this comes from the media, of how they portray Mexicans and Latin culture. They give all the attention to Mexicans more than other origins of Latin America, and this ties into the stereotype of laziness. There's people that think that all of us are being carried from the government in a way. I guess, like, carrying meaning like that we don't pay taxes, or that we're just lazy and we don't work and stuff like that. And I think it's very contradictory, because I feel like we're one of the most hardworking people, and it's just not true. I think, like, moral of the story is do not overgeneralize. Like, any race, anything that you're not completely sure of, and you're not fully educated about, like, do not overgeneralize. It's human nature to assume things about people, but to overgeneralize, that's just how we come up with these stereotypes, and it's how it's enforced in the media. And I wish it would stop. I wish it could stop. Here is another one. Okay, so people, when they think of Mexico in its entirety, they just think of the desert. Like an abandoned desert with nothing, like no buildings or whatever, but it's just not true. It depends on what parts of Mexico you go to, but there's several buildings and it's beautiful, it's colorful, there's plazas, there's a lot of vibrancy. Of course I'll put photos, but you go to central Mexico and it's gonna look completely different from more southern part of Mexico. I think people get this idea from Hollywood movies, exactly what this article is about. And the media, and specifically Hollywood and TV, movies, they've always portrayed Mexico as just like the Old West, just a dusty town with nothing there, just dusty roads, desert, nothing to really see. But it's the complete opposite. It's not the middle of nowhere. Like, there is deserts, but that's the only thing that's really put into movies, to be honest. They don't really put like the civilized parts of Mexico. They just like to put that. Another one. They always over-sexualize. They always over-sexualize females from my culture. So they have them with curves and big butts, big boobs, all for the attraction of the male, and particularly for other races as well. And I feel like they just always put this level of standard or expectation. There's always different body types. That's with any race, any ethnicity. And in the media, again, they always tend to over-sexualize the female to meet like an erotic fantasy or somewhat like that. Bringing back to the stereotype that I was saying before, one of the most popular roles Mexican women are placed in is as maids or nannies. There is a portion of people who don't speak English, but they do tend to overgeneralize on all Mexican females. But times have changed. In Mexican culture, it is different how the female role is starting to change. It's not being tied down only to be a nanny or a maid. But there isn't much diversity in Hollywood movies. They always tend to stick to this trope. There's nothing wrong with the role itself. It's just the fact that they only tend to use this role. If in the media you see a Mexican woman, if they're not a nanny or if they're not a maid or a nanny, then they're sexualized for the male attention. It's either one or the other. There's really nothing else. So that is on the female side. Now the male side. I'm looking at the article right now. They put the male roles as erotic, this guy that's willing to sleep with married women, enforces the assumption that Mexican men are to be avoided and not trusted. Okay, I see that. Well, I guess it's both sides, to be honest. There really is a double standard with this. This one is definitely in many minds that Mexicans are drug dealers and gang members. Obviously, it's in the media, it's in the movies, it's in telenovelas. That's all they really make, like recreations of these popular drug overlords and all of that. But I truly hate it too that when you bring up like my culture that is brought up or thought of in the movies, that's like all the roles that are often put. Mexican representation takes often this role. It's just truly upsetting that like that's all we're ever known for in media and a part of our like the politics, I guess, to stereotype every single Mexican man to be a drug dealer, you know, like, it's just completely ignorant, to be honest, because it's literally just a portion of people, but to just think of the whole race as just that, it's just not true. And let me tell you something, okay? They label us as criminals, right? Stereotype number 2, Mexican people are criminals. Mexican immigrants have been unfairly linked to crime to the US, even though there's no evidence that supports these statements that flood the international media. The Mexican drug war is a real and serious conflict between the Mexican government and drug cartels that dominate the illicit drug market in the United States. Something that the US doesn't tell you, huh? But the belief is that general population is involved or condones. It creates a prejudice against the honest and hardworking people trying to get by in a country where opportunities are not always easy to come by. So the US is just as guilty to enable in this drug war that is happening in Mexico. That's where drugs are being bought off, guns. It's all a business. And the US doesn't tell you this because corrupt, okay? It's corrupt in Mexico and here. Like, if you ask Americans about this, they have no idea that this happens. But it is true. The way the media portrays our culture, it often likes to paint our whole race to be involved in this drug war, and it's not true. Like, there's millions and millions of innocent people, hardworking people. It's super upsetting that that's all they ever see or know from our culture, and although it's just a small percentage of people who do that, you know? It's just so messed up. This next one is Mexicans are poor. Often the movies they portray as like the Mexican male or like female like families are poor, when it varies from time period, again, from history, and also there's always different social classes. Like, it's the same with any other country, right? There's the middle class, there's the upper middle class, top class, poor. It varies. Like, there's some rich millionaires, okay? Like, you cannot label a race with just a social class. Again, they often portray this in media, movies. I keep saying the same thing, but it's literally all true. Like, literally all the stereotypes mentioned so far is like stuff that like the media and movies and shows like to feed into people, because often it's just easier for them to produce, I guess, than actually capture like realistic things. That's my assumption, but it could be another thing. I don't know, but if you know, share with me. Okay, this one. Next one. So often every Mexican owns a poncho and a cowboy hat. There's people that think that we dress like that in Mexico. And it's not true. Like, this is from 1910s, like the Mexican Revolution days, okay? Like, we've evolved. We don't wear that. Ponchos are common in Peru. Cowboy boots and hats could be true, actually. I guess it depends on the person. I know Texas, here in the United States, they do that. They do wear Mexican hats and not Mexican hats. They wear cowboy hats and boots. And it is argued to this day who was the first group of people that dressed up as cowboys, and it might be from us. It might be from us. Particularly where I'm from, like Chihuahua, we might be like as the first cowboys, and then Texas, but it's still argued to this day, you know. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, we don't dress like that. That's old-fashioned. Old-fashioned. I think I covered everything. This video was kind of nerve-wracking for me to make, not gonna lie, because I don't know how race becomes political, but it does. It really does. And for the past 4 years, we had a president that was racist and enabled for racism to be like out in the open. Most damaging things about my culture and Latino culture in general, and I'm just so happy that he is not in power anymore, because that is not how I want our culture to be represented. Hope you guys learned a lot today, and remember, do not overgeneralize, educate yourself before you go out and say things that are not true or exaggerations. But I'm gonna leave you guys here. Thank you for sticking around and letting me have this platform to speak about things that I'm passionate about. Leave me a comment if you're of Mexican heritage, or if you're a Latina or Latino. You can also comment down below if I missed anything, any other stereotypes that you have seen in real life or in the media. Yeah, let's have an open conversation and be compassionate, and yeah, stay safe, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.